The journey is conversations with ordinary people about stories of transformation and how we may have had setbacks in our life and how we persevered through those, how we've learned from those obstacles, and how they've maybe helped us on our path today.
Well, welcome to The Journey. My name is Kevin Polke, and I am the host of The Journey. And today I have two special guests. I have Jamie and Mark Kuney to come onto the show to contribute to our Mental Health Awareness Month as we are raising light on the idea of how important mental health and developing our mental health is throughout this month. So, welcome to the show. Welcome to the journey, Jamie and Mark.
Thank you.
Morning.
And so, well, let me just start off with just like I normally do. When you have an opportunity to have fun or to do a hobby, what do you do for fun, Mark?
Oh, I coach girls softball at
Oh,
the
really?
yeah
Okay. And
uh
how long
at
have
the
you been
high
doing that?
school. At high school, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, but I've coached up at Hananiga football, basketball, and now girls softball for 20 years. And then
Gotcha. Okay.
I like to golf and then go hiking with my wife.
Okay. Awesome. Where's one of your favorite places to revisit to go hiking?
Oh, I think we want to go back. What was the I don't remember the name of it, but there was one place that we went last year that had some wonderful trails. Were we in Michigan when we did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in
Yeah.
Michigan. And it was just beautiful. And then but the problem is, Kevin, is when we go hiking, we get lost every time. It
Every
doesn't
time.
matter. We could have maps on a GPS and on our phones. It doesn't matter. We get lost. So,
Well, someone told me a long time ago that you're not technically lost. You just don't know where you're at the moment.
well, yeah, and we don't know where we're at a lot because
Yeah.
well, we managed after the first time, we managed to make sure we bring protein bar and some water with us. So in case
Yeah.
somebody gets hungry.
There you go. So, Jamie, what do you when you have the opportunity to have some fun, what do you do for fun?
Well, I love to hike with Mark. I love puzzles, but they have to be 1,000 pieces or bigger. I love to read, and just as recently as last Monday, my fun will be very limited because I'm going back to get my MSW.
How are you?
So
Congratulations.
thank you. And then we also love being with our daughter Gabrielle and her family, our grandson Jax.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you how old is you said Jack is your grand
Jax, yep.
and how old is he?
He's 20 months,
20 months. Okay. So,
and she's expecting another one in September, so we'll have 2.
oh, you guys will be busy.
Yes.
Yes. Double the fun.
Yeah. Now, where are you going to school to get your MSW?
University of Western Florida.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, I
And so,
tried to be a Gator because I love the Gators, but they don't have the program, so I, uh, I applied to the University of Western Florida and got accepted, so I'm excited.
and is that program entirely online or do you have to go on campus?
No, online.
Gotcha. Okay. And what was your undergraduate degree in?
Business administration and organizational leadership.
Okay. Okay. And I know that as we've gotten to know each other, you're working for an organization called Marshmallows Hope. And I've known Laura Kane for oh, I don't even know how many years now. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about Marshmallows Hope and when did you started at Marshmallows?
Yeah, so I started with Marshmallows Hope in August of 2024 as the director of operations. We are a behavioral health center that is aligned with many other organizations to help end the stigma of mental health and suicide ideations. We do offer pro bono services, and we offer 4 different programs at Marshmallows Hope, which include one-on-one therapy, IOP, the mentor program, and now we've started going into clients' homes to do in-home based therapy.
Gotcha. And I know that just working with Laura and talking with her and encouraging and supporting her, that organization in the past 12 months has just really really exploded.
Yes, it has, well, Laura, I think you said it best at last year's gala, whatever she touches turns to gold. So she gets an idea and off we go, which is exciting and scary all at the same time. But I think we have the right team in place. And with her guidance and leadership, I think it'll be very successful.
Yeah, I definitely I know how hard she works, and the people that like yourself that she's brought onto the team have done a great job of, if you don't know, you work really hard to figure it out. So I think
Thank you.
that's the key, because I don't know any, I mean, I know in my case, having been in business for the last almost 25 years in different companies, um thinking that I would have the answers going into it was not that was not my reality, at least.
No, it's not. It's a you kind of trial and error type thing in hopes that you get the right people on board and are able to keep the right people to help the communities that we're serving.
Very much so. So, Mark, besides coaching, which it sounds like coaching has been a big part of your life, besides coaching, what else? What do you do for a living? Because I know coaching stipends are so great that you could retire
Yeah,
on those.
I can retire on that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've been in logistics management for 35 years. So currently I'm senior manager of logistics at North Star. We right now we're shipping actually radioactive shipments, which are cancer cures, to hospitals for patient doses. And we started there with one building up in Beloit. Now we're on our fifth building and we just finished building, and it's just incredible how it's grown, and the opportunity to help people with the things that we're doing is can be endless, really, because it's just whatever we have going forward with some of the cancer customers that we have, some cures for that, or opportunities to see. We do a lot of clinical trials up there, and we ship radioactive stuff all over the world.
Well, both of you are in one fashion or another, either working with the organizations that you're at in the area of coaching, or in your case, Mark, even working the logistics aspect of it, which is obviously is critical, just like the operations aspect for Marshmallows is critical to be able to provide those services. But I know that as we've gotten to know each other, there's also another side to your for both of you, why you have such an interest in mental health, and maybe tell us a little bit about Ryan.
Go ahead.
Well, Ryan grew up in Rockton, Illinois. He went to all through the Rockton schools and then ended up at Hananiga High School. He was played 4 years in football, basketball, a couple years in track. Absolutely loved Hananiga and being an Indian. And then he went off to play at Southwest Minnesota. He had a football scholarship, so it was a D2. It was a big achievement for him, but a little too far away from home. So he came home, ended up at Platteville for a year, came home and said, "I've given you 2 years, I'm out." Went to the Marines. So he was stationed out at 29 Palms in California for 4 years. And then came home, and the transition back to civilian life was not an easy thing for Ryan or us. So we ended up losing him on March 9th, 2021 to suicide. There was alcohol abuse involved in this. He tried to get help, but it just never was the right fit for him. And it was happening during COVID, so the help was very limited. Struggled with the VA, especially during COVID, because it was even more limited than the normal limitations. But he was generally a very happy child, fun to watch grow up. I mean, I don't think we ever, I try to think back, we never had problems with Ryan. He was easygoing, he listened, he did all the things he was supposed to do. He was a pleasure to be around and help raise.
So Ryan was, how old was Ryan when he went into the Marines? I'm just
He-
trying to do the math. Was he 2021?
21, yep.
21, okay. And what from what you guys from both of you, what you recall, what was his experience? I mean, my niece's husband was also a Marine and he was stationed in 29 Palms. And so though I never got to go out there during the time period when he was out there, I do recall more than a handful of stories that he shared about his time out there, including stories about spiders and things like that. But yeah, what from the best you guys recall, what was one, what was his position in the Marines? What was his job? And then what was his experience like in the Marines?
So I think I think it was a love-hate thing. You know, it's you love being in the Marine Corps because of the brotherhood and the friendships that you develop, and that's what I think he liked most about it. He was a Amtracker corporal, so he had his own Amtrak, and he was in charge of a crew, and they did a lot of things. But you know, obviously, sometimes it is a job, and then nobody really always loves their job, so that's a love-hate thing there. He just loved everybody that he worked with in the Marine Corps, and he loved being there for his buddies, and he would have done anything for anybody.
Yeah, I think one of the lieutenants at Ryan's celebration, one of the things that struck out when he was talking about Ryan was that when he became a crew chief, he became a leader. And he didn't lead the Marine way. He led Ryan's way, which was with compassion and empathy. And they tried to get him to go to the Marine way, and he fought it because he's like, no, I'm not going to yell at these guys. I'm not going to belittle them. I'm going to do it my way. So that was, as parents, I believe that was very, very, that was important for us to hear that because that's how we brought him up. And that was a very proud moment for us.
And would just gather, I mean, 4 years of playing football and playing sports in high school, and then playing well enough at the to go and play at the next level, Division II level. Was Did you see some of those leadership qualities of compassion and empathy, leading with compassion and empathy, even in high school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was times when his senior year when he was playing in high school that one of his best friends got hurt and couldn't play for a time, and you know they were all together. Ryan kept telling him, "Hey, you'll be back. You'll be back. We need you for this." And so he was always there to build people up and never tear them down. I mean, kids would joke around sometimes, but it's nothing that would be anything that would be harmful for them,
Mhm.
but he was just there to be supportive and tell you what you need. So I did try to get him in when he was back before he decided to go in the Marine Corps to try to start coaching some kids because I thought he would have been great at it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like very much that would have been, yeah, he would have been able to have an impact there as well. And so he was released from or finished the Marine Corps. What year did he finish the Marine Corps?
2018.
Okay. And what were you guys noticing when he came back after 4 years in the Marine Corps? And obviously, Ryan is not the only, individual that that has made struggle with that transition, going from being providing service and then coming back into civilian life. Was during that time period, was he ever deployed? Was there any, or was he always in the United States?
No, he was deployed twice to Okinawa. And during those visits, he went to the Philippines, South Korea, Mount Fuji. So they did missions. He would always call and say, I'm gonna be out in the field, or you won't hear from me for so many days. And then there was one particular time where I don't know how many boys or Marines were involved. Don't know any of the details other than he was gone for 3 weeks. And when he came back, I said to Mark, we're in trouble. Something happened. His tone had changed. There was like a wall that had come up to protect himself, maybe from us, or us from him and what he had experienced. And then it just seemed like everything seemed to spiral out of control. Um, I mean, we'd have great moments and great conversations with him. We did go out to visit him more often than a lot of people do because it was a quick, cheap flight to Vegas. So we saw him probably every 3 months, which is unheard of. But just to check in on him and let him know we're there to support him and love him. But there was definitely a change after that trip.
Jamie also went out there one time when Ryan had to have surgery immediately for an appendix, right?
Mhm.
And she got her way on the base somehow, some way. She forced somebody to say, "I'm going to see Ryan." So then Ryan did get razzed by his buddies, like, "Your mom's here for you, Ryan," which was kind of funny.
Yeah, and I got to bring him home, which they
Yeah.
originally said, no, he stays here under our watch. And I'm like, I think it'd be okay if he came home with me. And then they gave up and let him come home.
Uh,
So
so possibly I listening to that story, maybe that's how Ryan got his way of being able to lead his way instead of the Marine way, huh? So maybe
yeah.
that
Yep.
perseverance may have came from you, huh?
Well, probably both of us. I'm just the one who took that trip. So
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so so when Ryan came back in 2018 after being being serving his 4 years in the Marine Corps, um yeah, what was your guys' now looking back on it, what was your observations of the transition? Because if I'm following the trajectory, he had been a student athlete, up until college. Into college, he was a student athlete, and then he made the transition from being a student athlete into the Marine Corps. So in some ways, there was always this structure that he had in his life, and so yeah, what did you notice? What did you observe once he got finished with the Marine Corps?
Well, when he first got back, he was lucky enough to get a job at NICOR, and he was working right away. And he had just recently purchased a house, so things were going good. Things were keeping us busy, and things were keeping his mind busy. But there was that time that he was alone, and he wasn't at work, and he wasn't at he'd be at home by himself, and then that's where we would start to see things kind of go off the rails a little bit, and um, looking for something to do and people to be with. Jamie said it when she talked the other day, that all of his high school buddies had moved on to their lives. All his Marine buddies were gone. He had nobody but us, and he needed more than that.
right. You're right. When you talk about structure, the first few things were like he couldn't even order his own meal at a restaurant. We had to order for him for a
Yep.
while. He would just look at us with a blank stare, like, what do I have to make this decision right now? So Mark and I and his sister were constantly like kind of guiding him, but trying to make sure to give him his space he can make his own decisions. Like budgeting is a great example. He wanted us to sit down and do a budget with him once a month to make sure he was on track, but Mark would let him make the decisions, offer the options, and then have him make the decisions so he has input, just like managing people, or being a leader, which he had the ability to do. He just wanted that reassurance that the decisions were right at all times. And um because in the Marines, you get that. And, you play football at the college level, you get it because if you don't make the right decision, you get yelled at. And I think that's where that all came from. It, was 20 something years of that behavior. And now you're being told, well, you're on your own, figure it out. And we didn't allow that to happen with him because he couldn't do that.
And Kevin, another thing is that we kind of felt like, you go into the Marine Corps, you spend 4 years there, 100% structured, 24 hours a day, or where you're doing. Then you get kicked out, not kicked out, but you
Get discharged.
discharged. They do a 2-day program on how to handle civilian life now. How do you transition back into civilian life? This is what you need to do. You know, you're going to have your own checking account. You're going to have your own, you know, get your own food. You have to order your own meals. It's crazy to think that something as simple as that is everybody should be able to do, but you don't. You go to a mess hall and you eat whatever they have there. You know, you don't have to make those decisions. So it's kind of retraining your mind and body of what to do again, you know, without the structure. And then without his friends there or his Marine buddies, you know, he kind of felt like he was lost.
And I would just gather from other veterans that I've worked with, um, there also is this sense of different experiences that he probably had either during the time in state or when he was deployed, that without those his Marine buddies being around, you know, who do I talk to about this? And
Yep.
who's really gonna understand and yeah, just understand.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. He didn't have that anymore because we certainly didn't understand. As a parent, you want to understand, but we didn't live the military life, so we didn't understand. And we tried to reach out to people to, ask questions and guide us, but that support for families is not there. It needs to be from the day they get out, that support on this is what you're going to be experiencing. Here's where you can go to get the help you need to guide them, set up the boundaries, all those things that you need to do. And also the support for the veterans, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there is support out there for afterwards if something was happening, like taps and things like that. But,
Mhm.
you know, but like Jamie said, there's nothing beforehand because we didn't know how to do it. We didn't know what to expect. We thought Ryan would come back Ryan, but you know, he did things that other people aren't asked to do. And he's experienced things in his life that nobody will ever think about or think about doing or whatever. But you know, and like you said, Kevin, he has to keep that quiet because he's got nobody to talk to about it because he doesn't want to burden us with that. He doesn't want to, you know, make him. I don't think Ryan would want to say anything that he did bad to us because he wouldn't want us to feel like we were mad at him for that or it was a bad thing for him to do. But, you know, he was doing what he was told to do and had to do.
Mhm.
So again, just to kind of put into context, he was 21 when he went into the Marine Corps, and then 25 when he came out, approximately 25 when he came out.
Mhm.
And even though chronologically, 25, we think of that as an adult, as really, there's a lot of life experiences that he may have had, but it was within this bubble of being
Mhm.
able to being able to of what may have happened, with this bubble of being within the Marine Corps, being within collegiate sports. And that's not the same as working at combat, or working and living on your own and those types of things.
Yep. 100%.
Right.
So
So we know something happened, and we know because there were a couple occasions where he was on the verge of telling us, and then he just he just stifled and just physically, like, paralyzed himself from telling us. We didn't force it because, it just meant he wasn't ready to, or maybe we weren't ready to hear it, and he knew that. But that happened on two occasions. So we knew something did happen and encouraged him to get the help he needed. And it was conversations like, we can't fix it, right? As parents, we want to, but we know we can't. But we also know, like, I would have conversations, there is help out there. We just have to find the right help for you. And you also have your Bible and you can turn to God. He's the miracle worker. Like, start talking to him. And we believe he did because we found his Bible out, after the fact. And there were pages that were
Mark.
marked. So he was doing those things, but he just couldn't overcome it.
I think the loneliness
Yeah.
just is what ended up being the most hard thing for him that there was nobody there. He felt that there was nobody there for him, but then, you know, afterwards you see everybody that showed up. It's
Mhm.
like crazy. So, and you don't realize that sometimes until obviously it's too late, how many people really would have been there for you. But you know, the stigma is, you know, you don't want to pry into their business, but you know what? You need to ask the question, are you okay? Do you need some help? And you can't be afraid of doing that, because otherwise you never know. If you say that to somebody and you help them and you save their life, then that's a great thing. But at least, you know, you tried to do something to help them out. And I think too many people are afraid of doing that.
Well, and I think you're 100% right, Mark. I think, you know, the fear is I don't want to make things worse. I don't want to plant some seeds in their head, and that is a complete myth, because no one's going to, if someone is in that darkness, no one's going to suggest something that they haven't already been thinking.
Correct.
And by asking someone about it, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about, you know, taking your own life? What it actually does is it shows them that they see you, and that and it may give them permission to talk about it.
Yep.
Right.
Because they think they're alone and that they're hiding it, but then you ask them that question and it brings it out. And then, hey, this they know, so I can say it now. I have permission to say it, and it's kind of like they needed that.
Yeah. And I know that as we were talking earlier, the two of you had started a foundation called RDM. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit, what does RDM stand for? What is the mission and the purpose of RDM? Yeah.
So RDM stands for Ryan David Masters. The foundation was actually started, it was by me and Mark, but a few of Ryan's childhood best friends. They reached out to Mark in December of 2021 and wanted to put together a golf outing to raise awareness and keep Ryan's legacy going. So we agreed to that, and we decided we better set up a foundation so the financials can run through that. And so that's how RDM Foundation was created. And it's the mission currently is we raise money and awareness to help local veterans. So we can set veterans up with a week-long cohort, like with Sparta, you know, where they take these local veterans, they take them fishing, camping, they take them over to Brave Hearts and work with the horses to get therapy. Um, we sponsor, Mark will get a phone call at like 2 in the morning. A veteran needs a place to go live. He just got out of rehab at Rosecrans and he has nowhere to go. So we fund that and help the veteran get to the next place.
Dogs.
Dogs, we have sponsor therapy dogs to help veterans. They purchase their own dog, but then they bring it to this place that we sponsor, and they train the dogs to be their, service dog. So we're looking for more places to sponsor, but we want to try to keep it locally because we always try to think of what Ryan would want. So,
And so and it sounds like it's primarily being able to, first it has to be a veteran, right?
mhm,
And then it's about linking them with resources for other types of services.
Yep.
correct. Yep.
Yep.
So really,
That's we're right there right now, and we keep bouncing other ideas around. But we want to make sure those are the right things with the board and us because we have to make sure we have balance in our lives,
sure.
so it's very important to us and our family. So,
Absolutely. So so this organization really would be the spring of 22, or in 22 is when you began the foundation after you were approached with a golf outing.
Yes, sir.
correct.
Yep. Yep.
And really kind of just as the two of you were talking about, of Ryan, from your observation, Ryan's experience, which obviously uh, went to a whole nother level with the pandemic and all the quarantining, and that just made things even more difficult for many people.
Mhm.
But really, how to see where those gaps are specifically for veterans, and that is really where you guys want to try to build some bridges there, it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. So what would be the best way if a veteran was listening or someone that knows a veteran that is listening today, what's the best way for them to reach out to you guys to find out more about what you're doing, either to help or maybe get help?
Well, I think they could go to the website, rdmfoundation.com, and look and see what Ryan's story was, what our mission is, the people that we've helped. And I believe there's a link in there to send an email to the board, and whether they were looking for help, whether they needed help, or they wanted to help us with donations and stuff like that. You'd be able to put it in there and send us an email and we'd reply to you.
Well, and certainly if they're looking for help, of course, teaming up with like you and Laura and Rosecrans, we now have those organizations and we're aware of them. So if somebody is looking for help, by all means, send an email. We will get them the help they need right away. We'll find a way.
And so as you think about the last uh, 3 years of more doors opening up, more things that the two of you have become aware of, and more things that you've seen happening, what would be what thing would you want a listener to know about, either about the RDM Foundation or about Ryan's story and your guys' story? Um what would you want someone to know?
I think that I think Kevin, the thing that I would want them to know the most is that you don't be afraid to ask for help. If we could get that out to the people, if you could do that, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And I think that all of those organizations that you mentioned can help with that, but they have to know that you need it or want it. We can't just kind of guess. And I think that's probably the hardest time to identify, because as a Marine, you're told keep everything in, do this, do that. You shouldn't show emotion, you shouldn't show that. And then Jamie talked about it, the way Ryan, managed his crew versus the way other things grew. So he didn't do it the Marine way. But the Marine way is not to talk about it, right? The Marine way is to be quiet, do your job, and go back to doing what you're doing. We have to break that, and we have to be able to say, hey, you're allowed to say, hey, I need help, because if you don't, then terrible things can happen. So
Well, and I think as a parent, if you're a mother, you're a father, you're a sibling, cousin, friend, whatever you are to this veteran, if you see them not asking for help and you believe they need help, you reach out to.
yeah,
We're there for everybody. Let's figure this out together. It's not a RDM Foundation can do it all type thing. We all have to team up together and figure out this problem that this country or world is currently having.
Well, and I think, I think both of you guys are spot on with what you said. I think the stigma around mental illness and mental health is I think in general starting to minimize, but even with that being said, no matter how much awareness that we have around that, when someone's in that darkness, the darkness will lie to us and tell us that no one will understand. Don't be weak. Don't be a burden to someone else. It's the darkness that's lying, and is almost this inside job of how to break that, how to pierce that darkness so that it doesn't continue to eat away. um because we can continue to reaching out for letting people know that it's okay for us to talk about it, but it takes that step of courage when we're most scared and most feeling lonely and hopeless in that darkness. It takes that step of courage to be able to just take a risk. So I appreciate both of your guys's work with this and continue to bring the message out. And like you said, I probably get more phone calls or emails from a significant other, a parent, um, a spouse, um, some partner or friend asking for someone else what might be going on than someone directly calling me myself. It's probably for every three people I interact with, probably two of them are the significant other that's reaching out over them directly asking themselves. And so I think the message is right for to have the courage if you're in that darkness, but then also if you know someone that is moving toward that darkness so you can be a light for them.
Right. Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
Well, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and you know, no one wants to be in the situation that you guys were forced into with Ryan's death. And but with that being said, in the midst of your own grief and loss and pain, I am glad that you are taking that and using that energy from that to be a light for other people that may be struggling in the darkness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you know anybody, veteran or a significant other of a veteran, please pass this message on. RDMfoundation.com is one resource, but please pass that information on so that Jamie and Mark can be a resource for you if you yourself are a veteran or if you are someone that is a significant other of someone who may be struggling in that darkness. As always, thank you for being here, and I look forward to being with you next time.